Knicks Film School, my people, my people, my people. You are live and direct for another episode of Casual Fridays, coming to you live on the KFS YouTube channel. You already know the vibes. Like the video if you love what you're hearing. Comment, subscribe, tell a friend to get their ass in this room to talk some Knicks basketball. My name is Jeff J. And on the other side, the KFS Casual Friday original, the man who tried to tell you that the price of the bodega was going up in September. You should have bought your stock then. There ain't going to be no dip to buy in the future. My guy, Mensa. Mensa, talk to me, brother. How you feeling today?
I am feeling sensational, brother. Sensational. I really wish I had another word that I could give you, but it's just the vibes are at an all-time high for us right now. At least for me, as you know, one of the originating members of Carl FC. But we got a lot of time to get into that. But yeah, I'm feeling great, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I can't complain. Love to link up with you. It's our first time linking up officially on KFS on Casual Friday. We talked to the past on my channels, and I really wanted to tap in with you because I feel like it's your time. This is your time right now. You stretched, you got your fluids, you're fully hydrated. So when you take your victory lap, your early season victory lap, you won't pull a muscle, you won't get injured at all. You'll be ready to go. And you already started off, you know, our tradition, our ritual, talking about the vibes. Why are the vibes at an all-time high for you right now?
So the vibes are at an all-time high for me because I was coming into this season with the Karl-Anthony Towns acquisition on my mind, thinking, all right, I'm going to have to do a lot of PR for Karl Towns. I was going to have to help him out. You know, he was going to have an off game here, an off game there. But respectfully, Karl-Anthony Towns said, damn all that. He said, I'm coming out firing, hot. He is killing right now. And it just makes me feel good to see that. One, first of all, I trust Leon, and I feel like at this point we should all trust Leon Rose to do the right thing and to honestly just have our backs when it comes to putting this team together and building an actual cohesive unit. But I don't think I didn't expect it to come so hot. And it's not just Karl Towns, but you're seeing the Knicks right now have the number 2 offense in the NBA. It's proof that the offense is doing really well. Everybody was talking about, oh, Cat's soft, Cat's this, Cat's that. You all need to put your apology forms in. The deadline is December 4th. We need to see them because, honestly, all the propaganda and all the lies that were out there about this guy are completely hogwash, you know? And it's just, I'm so proud and I'm so happy to see the guy do well. He fits right in. And there's so much that I can talk about with him. But the one thing that I really love most about him is, as a Jets fan, right? Whenever I watch the Jets play the Patriots, I can always tell, well, to me, it's like they don't understand the magnitude of how much I hate these guys. And I need them to get that, right? Karl Towns, who hates the Miami Heat like Karl Towns with Jimmy Butler on that roster? He didn't even want to talk about it, right? Who hates the Philadelphia 76ers and Joel Embiid like Karl Towns, who put him in a headlock? And when you watch him play these teams, it's like, oh, you get it. You get what it means to be a New York Knick, and that is what I like the most about him. Is whenever I watch him play, I feel seen, and it's just the vibes are at an all-time high. Just watching this guy play. One of my favorite things to do is after a game to go check his basketball reference page to see where the stocks are going and where the stats are, and they just keep getting higher and higher and higher. And as they go, we go. And I love this team, and I'm really proud to see what they're doing right now.
I love it. I love to hear it, man. On my end, I'd say that the vibes are justified. The vibes are justified because we're slowly starting to see this team come together and show glimpses, consistent glimpses of one of the best offense in the NBA and what they can be if they're playing on all cylinders, if they're firing on all cylinders, if they're able to gel as a real unit. I think there was a lot of early season panic. I won't say that it was misplaced because some of the stuff was worthy of mention, especially as they became trends. I knew this team was going to take a while. You look at the past 3 seasons, they've started off slow all the time because they use the first quarter of the season to calibrate, to figure things out. And they look at the data, they look at the play on the court, and they'll make the adjustments when they need to. And so far, yeah, it's come against the Nets, who have been better than what a lot of people projected. Still like an I team, but nowhere near a contender, but still at least early on, while they still have a lot of their pieces still fighting. The meme team Wizards, of course, and then the Phoenix Suns, who, while they haven't won without Kevin Durant, they still have been competitive, right? So you play the teams that are in front of you when they are in front of you. You can't control the schedule. And I think the process and the progress is more important than the wins and the losses at this point, especially for this team. And I'm seeing the progress. I'm seeing the process that they're going about, running their offense, fortifying their defense. And yeah, man, I think there's a lot of things to be happy about. There's a lot of things to be optimistic about. I think that my vibes are also optimistic because they are showing glimpses of the best versions of themselves. And I think if they remain consistent, you're looking at one of the top contenders in the league for the title this year. Certified.
Yeah, 100%. It's just, again, this team is so cohesive. And the one thing that I love about it, excuse me, is that nobody does anything that takes away from anybody else on the court. Josh Hart being Josh Hart isn't taken away from the other 4 guys. Jalen Brunson gets to be his most optimal self. Karl-Anthony Towns gets to be his most optimal self. Mikal Bridges operating in the mid-range. Who saw that coming? Even OG Anunoby becoming a 3-level scorer. And it's a lot. The reason why the team, in my opinion, has this ability to get to these unseen levels for the New York Knicks is because, like, that 5 out, the way they're playing, you can see how it's really giving the guys confidence on offense, because they know in the 5 out, once you beat your man, there's nothing but you in the basket. So guys are a lot more confident attacking, getting downhill. You're seeing it with Josh Hart, who's leading the league in 2-point field goal percentage. You're seeing it with OG Anunoby. You're hearing all the commentators, especially Walt, talk about how OG has become more confident, and you're starting to see his offensive game come together because it's so much easier with, and shout out to my guy XJ who's in the chat right now. He's saying, like he said on his podcast, Hot Hand Theory, which everybody should go check out. It's an excellent podcast. That spacing is playmaking by itself, right? And you're seeing that. You're seeing proof in the pudding with the New York Knicks, where the spacing is allowing them to create offense and allowing them to create lanes. Like everybody, like even a guy like Josh Hart, who's really maybe our best line drive scorer, he's really getting to the basket, and it's not even his game. That's not what's making Josh Hart so great. He's doing all the rebound and assist and all the connector stuff that I think is doing really well. But I don't see how this offense going forward is not sustainable. If everybody remains healthy, and I will find a block of wood to knock on every single day to make sure that stays the same. If we can maintain health, the sky is literally the limit for this offense, and you're starting to see the defense come together. I personally believe that Karl-Anthony Towns tries on defense and is a good help defender. Maybe he's not a great rim protector, but even against Phoenix, you saw him, fight on defense and in isolation really play well. The guy doing great. And then the rebounding, which is one thing that I want to say about defense, is that a possession does not end until a rebound is had. And Karl-Anthony Towns is turning in an elite defensive rebounding season right now. So I do believe that the defense is going to get better. Will it catch up to the offense? Probably not, because Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns, you're always going to have to insulate them with solid defenders. But the sky is truly the limit with this team, and I think that the vibes being optimistic is a perfect way to call it.
100%, man. Casual Friday Live. Jeff and Mensa with you, talking all things Knicks basketball, about the week that was and the week that has yet to be. Let's get into some quick weekly news, and this is the injury report right now because nothing else is really shaking. Shout out to my guy in Begley. He reported on Deuce, Mitch, and Precious. First, we start off with Deuce. It seems like he has left knee inflammation. He made the road trip, which is a positive sign. And all indications are that the Knicks are waiting until the knee calms down inflammation-wise to get Deuce back out there. So that shows to me that they have faith in their depth, where they don't feel like they need to rush Deuce back, and they're letting him heal and letting it get to a more manageable point. I definitely feel fans who say this sounds a lot like OG's elbow all over again, because that was one of the first vibes that I got. You're talking about inflammation. And when there's inflammation, that usually means there's something there, whether it's a bruise, whether it's a sprain or something. Your muscles inflame as a warning that something is going wrong, right? So if this is just maximum precaution, all right, cool. I also think having him travel with a knee injury they wouldn't have had him travel if it was more serious than what it's led to be. At least that's what I would hope. If it was manageable enough and they want him to be on the road and get his treatment and do whatever they need to do. So timetable is not yet set. I think he's officially day-to-day. He gets ruled out before games anyway. I'm not sure if he's going to play on this road trip, but I think it's officially day-to-day for now. What do you think about that, Mensa?
Yeah, mostly when I think about the Deuce McBride injury, I agree that they should be cautious because we're not trying to win games in November. We're trying to win games in May and eventually June. And Deuce McBride's going to be a really big part of what we do. But outside of that, I'm disappointed because for him specifically, because Deuce McBride, he signed a 360 deal. Don't get me wrong. And I hate that for him. Love it for the Knicks, but that's a 360 deal, my brother.
Man.
But he was having a great season. He was in position to break out offensively, and he was showing you that. And then on top of that, he may be our best point of attack defender. I know Mikal Bridges 2 seasons ago, 2022, I should say, which is maybe 3 seasons ago. So we're starting to run together. He was excellent at the point of attack, Mikal Bridges, but I feel like the older you get, this is just my theory, I don't have any stats to back this up, but I feel like the older you get, the more, rust you start to get in them knees. It's a little harder for these 6'7" and 6'8" guys to chase around, shorter guards. So having Deuce McBride at the point of attack, I feel like we're losing that on the defense, and it's funny because the three guys who are hurt, Deuce McBride, Precious Achiuwa, and Mitchell Robinson, you could argue those are 3 of our 4 best defenders. So for the Knicks to be treading water defensively without these 3 guys is encouraging. But it's on the Deuce front, it is a bit discouraging for him because I really wanted to see him break out eventually, have all of us on Knicks Twitter standing for him to be the 6th man of the year, for him to eventually lose to some schmuck in some small town somewhere. But, just disappointed for Deuce. But I appreciate the approach the Knicks are taking. Be cautious with him because we need him to be right. We need that knee to be healthy for the stretch run.
100%. Precious Achiuwa is practicing with the team. So he's practicing. I think they've cleared him to practice. So he's starting to practice on the West Coast trip. It's sounding like the indications are he should be able to make his return on this trip. So that's something that's good in terms of getting some reinforcement back. And biggest news, Mitch is with the team. He's shooting around. He's starting to shoot with the team. No running yet, but this is the first step in his road to recovery. So looks like Precious will be back soon. Mitch is still on target for a January 2025 return. And Deuce, gotta hope that knee heals up and they're able to manage that for the rest of the year. So just so that, as you said, we don't need him now. Like there's no rush, especially when you have Campaign, when you have Tyler Kolek. He's a nice to have right now and put you over the top, but not at the expense of further injury or prolonged injury. And one thing I am curious about with Precious is who loses time. I guess Jericho Sims' time might be over if Precious comes back. How does he factor into the rotation? What are some of the different views that we're going to see? So, more reinforcements on the way, looks like, for the Knicks.
Yeah, 100%. The thing with Precious Achua, I call him Nigerian Ben Wallace, the Igbo Ben Wallace. It's my guy. Being able to shoot threes is a big deal for him. If he can shoot threes, and it's kind of funny because the biggest, I guess, gripe or the biggest thing that gives me agita with the Knicks this season is where the amount of minutes that Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, and Josh Hart are seemingly logging. If Precious Achua can shoot the basketball, then maybe it's viable that you can play him at the 4 or you can play Cat at the 4. I personally don't like playing Cat at the 4 because you see all the value he has at the 5 and you don't really want to neuter that. But if Precious Achua can come back and be like the Jericho Sims of power forwards and give you, like 10, 15 minutes there, then that's 10, 15 minutes that I don't have to worry about OG Anunoby or Josh Hart or Mikal Bridges playing, because ideally those three guys would split about 96 to 108 minutes. So anywhere between 32 to 36 minutes played for those three guys. Right now they're up around 37, 38, 39, 40. Right. And these are athletes in the prime of their career. I'm sure they know who their head coach is, and I'm sure they know and I'm sure Tom Thibodeau has prepared them to play these minutes because nobody prepares their team like Tom Thibodeau. But we really need to see these guys get back healthy because Deuce will get some of those minutes at the 2. Precious might get some of those minutes at the 4. And if you can cut into that meat of the rotation right there between 2, 3, and 4, then you can get you can start to see Josh Hart's minutes come down, Mikal Bridges' minutes come down, and OG Anunoby's minutes come down. So just a slight pushback on my own statement that the Knicks don't really need Deuce McBride in November. They absolutely do, because our three most viable wings they're playing a lot of minutes, and the coach does not trust Pacome Dadier quite yet to play those minutes, even though what we're seeing is encouraging. Is it encouraging enough to give a guy 20, 25 minutes a game yet, especially considering how young he is? Probably not. But I really want to see these guys get back healthy so that we can really start to see what this team looks like 9 and 10 deep, But as of now, I'm enjoying the season, but I'm sure there's just so much more for the Knicks to do once they get healthy.
Casual Friday Live, Mensa, Jeff, and the KFS community talking Knicks basketball. Let's get into the Friday Rewind. Knicks 4-0 on the week, beat the Nets twice since last Friday, beat the Nets twice, beat the Washington FKA Bullets, and beat the Phoenix Suns. Mensa, tell me, what have you seen from the Knicks over this 4-game period that, first off, gives you that excites you, that you want to see more of?
So a little, I guess, anecdote here. I taught my wife how to drive about 2-3 years ago. And when I was teaching my wife how to drive, we would go to quiet neighborhoods, where you're not worried about all this traffic and you can really learn, get your fundamentals down. You can learn your parallel parking and so forth. The reason why I bring that up is because the Brooklyn Nets, the Washington Wizard Bullets, and the Phoenix Suns without Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal are the quiet neighborhood in the schedule. Right? The Knicks aren't learning how to drive their roster in Midtown or up in Harlem, they're going out to New Jersey, they're going up to Westchester, they're learning how to drive, So this 4-game period, while a lot of people may think, there's nothing really to take away from it because these teams are jokes. Don't get me wrong, those defenses are terrible. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the Knicks went up against, the Celtics or the Cavaliers. No, right. But they also needed, as a young team, in terms of how long they've been together, they also needed this easy patch in the schedule so that they could figure some things out, right? We see Karl Towns getting the ball in the post and he's sweeping dudes off his feet in such a manner that Jordan, forgot her name, that his girlfriend is getting jealous, essentially. Jordan Woods, right, there we go. Because Jordan Woods has to be getting jealous the way he's taking dudes off their feet, it's unbelievable what he's doing in the post. And, if you're not 240 pounds, just get out the way. Get out the way. Karl Towns is putting you in a pack, right? So it's important that these guys are getting that momentum and they're feeling their way through. And even so, as they're having these, this easy period of the schedule where they're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing, which is dominating basketball teams, they're playing great. If you look at the stats, even in this 8-6 season, guys like Josh Hart leading the league in 2-point percentage at 75% 5.6%. 3 of every 4 shots Josh Hart is taking from 2-point range is converting. That's ridiculous, right? Karl-Anthony Towns. I was looking up the numbers today. Nikola Jokic, I believe, as of this moment, who is far and away is the MVP of the season. He is averaging, I think, a 662 true shooting percentage on 29.1 usage. I think I'm ballparking here, but I think that's exactly where it is because I looked it up like 20 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
Karl Towns is what? I think Karl Towns is like 6 or 7 percentage points higher on the true shooting with a higher usage. And Nikola Jokic is by far the MVP. What we're seeing from Towns is he's scoring at a rate that's higher than the MVP of the league right now. And so even so, with all of this, with all the concern about the Knicks, dropping games against the Chicago Bulls and all that sort of stuff, you're still seeing that this offense is extremely potent. And even with all, because we watch the games, even with all like the concern that we have with the minutes rotation and is Jalen Brunson going to get it together? By the way, I have his all-star jersey on because Jalen Brunson is an all-star. I need everybody to remember that. The Knicks are still doing well. And this 4-0 stretch, while we shouldn't take like, I think on NBA Today, they like to play something, nothing, or everything. It's not everything. It's not nothing, but it is something. And the something is this team is using the soft part in the schedule to figure some things out, to gel, game by game, piece by piece, quarter by quarter. You're starting to see how potent an offense this is. Like you're starting to see the Ferrari start to rev up, and that's really encouraging.
For sure. Just thinking about some of the different stats that I've seen over these past 4 games. The Knicks have the top offensive rating in the league. And this is just over this 4-game stretch. They have the 4th best net rating. Something that I think is really important is their assist to turnover ratio tops in the league. Their assist ratio tops in the league, right? And this is all doing this where they're 4th in defensive rebounds, and 2nd in rebound percentage. True shooting, all the efficiency stats of actual shooting, effective field goal percentage, true shooting percentage, they're the tops over 4 games and among the tops in the league. They're giving up, their defensive rating is 118. I want to say it's 118.8. And their net rating is plus 12.9. So even if they give you 120, they're scoring 132, meaning that their offense has been running at such an elite level that they can outscore you. Like you cannot keep up with their scoring to the point where they just got to get a few stops, quell a few runs here and there, and then they're off to the races. The way the team is constructed right now, if they have a 10-point lead on you in the 4th quarter and you get into a shootout, you're more than likely going to lose. Unless you can go ape shit from 3. And then that's forcing you to take more threes playing into the math average game. It doesn't look good. I'll say that for the rest of the league. And this is something that I've been monitoring with them over the course of the season and seeing what this offense is going to do. It's funny as talking, shout out to my guy, I Hate Sean, Knicks Twitter aficionado, who has his Knicks on 6, Knicks on 1, whatever time he's free. He got a lot of money. So it's when you try to find time for him to schedule the meetings, he has to tell his secretary to book the Twitter spaces. So that's why he isn't really able to get it like that, right? Like be consistent with that in the time. But I listened to my guy Breeze on the show the other day, and he says he's tired of watching defense as a fan. And he's seen defense for 30 years. If you're paying over $200 for a ticket, you didn't come there to see no lockdown, people get locked up on the court and turnovers and showtime blocks. You try to see people put the ball in the basket. And I thought that was so hilarious because it's only been 15 games, right? It's only been 15 games. This is the most beautiful offense I've seen as a Knicks fan throughout my Knicks fandom, spanning like almost 30 years, right? This is the most beautiful offense that I've seen, to where multiple people can score 20 points at ease. This isn't a hard 20. This isn't a rough and tumble 20. This is a I get buckets better than you 20 plus point game. Got a big man, the most skilled 5 that the Knicks have had since Pat Ewing, offensively, right? Who looks unguardable, who looks like if he decides he's going to do something, he just creates it in his head and he's able to do it. And he's the only one who could stop himself. Jalen Brunson, who is putting up comparable numbers, and it still feels ho-hum because we're used to seeing Herculean efforts. I've even seen this stat going on with Josh Hart, where I saw this graph. I'm looking at it right now, where Y-axis is the 2-point shooting percentage, X-axis is the total defensive rebounds. He is second in the NBA in 2-point percentage and 15 in total defensive rebounds. Per Mr. Toots, Doug on Blue Sky. The only players who are in the top 20 in both those categories, along with Josh, are Giannis, Domantas Sabonis, Jared Allen, Vucci Main, and Rudy Gobert. This is the type of production that you're getting, not to mention OG Anunoby, who must be Cell and must have got a lock of Kawhi's hair and absorbed it into himself so that he could get the 3-level scoring, right? This is a dude who the report said he wanted to score more. And he's showing something now, Mensa. He's showing something now like, yeah, take him seriously because he has the bag to do it.
Yeah, 100,000%. I just want to echo what you're saying because it's amazing what this team is doing. Like Josh Hart, last year, shout out to my guy Kazim Famiwide on Twitter. He said that Josh Hart is the Carmelo Anthony of Draymond Greens, right? I want to update that for everybody today.
All time quote, because it's just apropos.
So I want to update it actually. Josh Hart, to me, is the Dwayne Wade of Dennis Rodman's. Like, he is, like, when you watch him play the game, like, he gets to the rim. I'm like, this guy is like Dwayne Wade without athletic gifts, you know, because D Wade in his prime was truly the Flash, right? The way he gets downhill and the step back threes and the most, made, I think he has like his effective field goal percentage with like the 3 seconds or less on the clock is leading the NBA right now because he's always good for that step back three to beat the buzzer. Like what he's doing is unbelievable, right? What Josh Hart is doing. So to me, he's the Dwayne Wade of Dennis Rodman's. We're gonna update that from the Carmelo Anthony of Draymond Greens. And maybe next year it'll be something else. But that's where I'm at with my guy. Karl Towns and just the offense.
Well, before you get to that, you get to let me tee you up because Kevin Janishevsky, shout out to the super chats, said Mensa talked me into Cat, and we drove the catadvocacy train this summer. Was so happy when the deal went down, and Cat has been better than advertised. I'm giving the Kobe sign right now. we call in ISO. We call it ISO. I'm throwing you the ball above the break. Run with it, brother. Talk your shit.
Here we go. So I want to shout out Kev here really quickly because once the Knicks traded for Mikal Bridges, I thought that the Cat ship had sailed just because of the math that we needed in order to get Karl Towns. Listen, everybody who needs to file an apology letter to Karl-Anthony Towns, I need to file one for my guy Brock Aller. I had no idea. I didn't know his game was that tight. I didn't know that he could move this piece and that piece and sign guys in Serbia and bring them over. Like, I had no idea he was like that. Like, not at all. So I thought that in order to get Karl Towns on the team, we would have to move 3 rotation players. I thought it was going to have to be Mitchell Robinson, Deuce McBride, and Julius Randle, and I didn't think that it would be worth gutting the team. We only traded 2 rotation players. We're able to keep Deuce, and because of that, because of my skepticism, I got to give Kev the credit. He was really like always on the Cat train. I had stepped off for a little bit. Even though I built the rails and I built the train and I set it on its destination, I had stepped off for a little bit. So shout out to Kev real quick. But what Karl Towns is doing is just, it's absurd. It is completely absurd what this guy is doing. He is an elite defensive rebounder this year. his scoring, again, I want to make this very clear. He is outpacing Nikola Jokic as a scorer this season. And Nikola Jokic is as close to playing perfect basketball as we've ever seen in the NBA. Outpacing him. He's scoring, he's a 50-50-80 guy. And the 80 we know is nonsense because he's really a 90 guy. A 50-50 scorer and at high volume. It's not like this guy is taking, shots that, are easy or anything. No. As XJ brought up on his podcast, Karl-Anthony Towns is the NBA's leader in deep three-point shooting percentage. He is the best three-point shooter from deep in the league. And this is a league that features
is 24 plus feet, right?
20, yeah, more than 24. Feet. Yeah. So like his above the break 3-point shooting is phenomenal. And that's kind of only where he shoots it from, to be honest. He starts the game like in the first 3 minutes, he's going to shoot that above the break 3, almost like to knock the center in the head. Like, hey, stupid, if you think you're going to camp out in the paint, I got 60 points for you out here. So please come guard up. And just watching him play. And again, the spacing, not only is the spacing so immaculate, he's also like 96th percentile in pass and like pass efficiency in terms of the ability. I forget the stats specifically. Again, I'm piggybacking off XJ here. If you guys want all the good cat stats, go watch XJ's last podcast about what Karl-Anthony Towns is doing. But he's 96th percentile in passing efficiency in terms of creating good shots, in like playmaking and that sort of stuff for his teammates. No other Knick is above the 50th percentile. And this isn't just 96th percentile for bigs or for no, it's 96th percentile for players in the NBA. So not only is Karl Towns rebounding the basketball at an elite level, giving you 26 and 12 a night, outpacing Nikola Jokic as a scorer this season, but he's also an elite playmaker. The things that this guy is capable of, and I tweeted this, I think yesterday or the day before, Karl Towns should probably put in litigation against the Minnesota Timberwolves for ruining his reputation. Because the Jimmy Butler acquisition made everybody think the guy was soft. And then the Rudy Gobert acquisition made everybody think he couldn't play center. Now he's in New York. No Jimmy Butler, no Rudy Gobert, just spacing. Just complete spacing. You're allowing him to be his best self. You're like, okay, he's not the best defender in terms of rim protection, and the impact metrics will tell you that he's grading out at an average to a little bit above, slightly above average level because of that impact as a rebounder, and his isolation defense is also really good this season. The Knicks said, we don't care that you can't protect the rim. We got a guy named Mitchell Robinson who can do that for 10, 15 minutes a game next to you if we so choose. We don't care that you're not a great defender because we got Kawhi's little brother, OG Anunoby, and we got Mikal Bridges, who was a Defensive Player of the Year runner-up a few seasons ago, and we got Josh Hart, who is the Dwayne Wade of Dennis Rodman. Say it with me, people. They said that we have all of these good defenders that we can insulate not just Jalen Brunson, but Karl-Anthony Towns. And what that has done for the offense, last year it was, you can't stop Julius. You can't stop Jalen. Now it's, you can't stop any of us. Good luck. There's nothing you can do with us. And a lot of that, again, is because Karl-Anthony Towns felt like, at this point, the final Infinity Stone, right? Like Leon Rose is Thanos, and he's just collecting. Karl-Anthony Towns, what he is able to do offensively, and because the drawbacks defensively aren't quite as bad as everybody thinks they are, you're seeing this team and this offense do things that it's really unfathomable. That just last season, the New York Knicks, this guy, I forgot who tweeted it, but he said that you have all these record-breaking offenses in the NBA, and when you come to Madison Square Garden, they're beating you with steel bats for 48 minutes. And that's what we were doing. We were beating the shit out of teams, and I loved it, right? So shout out to Breeze, when he was saying, I don't want to watch defense. I kind of enjoy watching defense. I'm a defensive sicko. I'm sorry. But even so, what this team is doing offensively, I think we're second in the league, and you can just see, like, they have not reached their zenith. This team still has a ways to go. Jalen Brunson is evolving as a playmaker, and I thought that would be the leap that he took this season, because coming to the Knicks, in 2022-23, he took a leap as an isolation scorer. I think he was like 99th or 100th percentile as an isolation scorer, but the three-point volume where it was. Last year, Jalen Brunson took a leap in three-point aggression, and that got him to that MVP level. And I'm glad to see the three-point aggression is coming back, because without that three-point aggression, the offense it's a little bit tighter. Even though, and look, this is just picking nits at this point because this is an elite NBA offense. But last year, that's the leap he took. So I figured the next leap for him to take would be as a playmaker. And what better system to do it than in this 5-out with Karl-Anthony Towns, with Karl Towns and Jalen Brunson, by the way, are the number one pick duo in the entire league. And who could have seen that coming? Who could have seen that coming? Jalen Brunson last year was, I think, top 5 or I think number 1 in pick and roll possessions with like over 800 possessions. Karl Towns, in terms of efficiency, was in the top 10, but in terms of frequency was down close to like top 50. So Minnesota wasn't truly using him to his potential. So when you put the league's number 1 pick and roll guy, a pick player in terms of frequency with a top 10 pick and roll scorer, you get the best pick and roll duo. And in my opinion, the New York Knicks have the most complementary superstars duo since. If you want to say Stockton and Malone, I'm with you. If you want to go a little further and say Shaq and Kobe, I'll give you that because of their talent. But in terms of what they were able to do together, those two bring the best out of each other. It's not that, they're a good pairing or a great pairing. They are bringing the best out of each other. They are ideal as a pairing. And then you gave them 3 ideal wings. With this starting 5, they're just getting started. This is a 4-game winning streak. Do not be shocked if the winning, if you got to keep counting. We got to go from 4 of them things to 5 to 6 to 7 like LeBron did. This thing may keep going. And we are real, especially because we have Utah tomorrow. Like, come on. This team is ready to run. They're ready to go. And all of that is not just because of the greatness of Karl Towns and not just the greatness of Jalen Brunson, but what they're doing together, the sum being much greater than the parts. You can't stop any of us. And that's just the feeling that they have on offense. You can see that confidence permeating throughout the starting 5.
Yeah, man. I'm looking at some of these numbers right now. And yeah, for the season, Cat's numbers are literally on par with what Jokic is doing too. I remember hearing, what's his name? Austin Rivers, when he made that comment about is Cat as skilled as Jokic, not the better bay, but in terms of skill wise, and everybody kind of dismissed it. But I understood where he was coming from. I don't think I would still say that, but the most shocking thing for me with Cat has been his passing. I've seen him make some passes this season, and that look like Jokic-esque, right? Like the sum of, even better than his skill in passing is his vision. He has elite court vision, in my opinion. He can see, because he's 7 foot, he can see over the top of the defense, and he can see everything happening. He has a touch on his pass. I remember I saw some people where I saw him make one pass. I saw him make a full court pass in transition where it didn't even look like he was throwing the ball that hard. Like the Giants should probably pick him up on waivers right now, since they have a vacancy in quarterback right now at that position. They should probably pick him up. But when I saw him, I thought about Magic, and I said, I'm not going to say that out loud because the people are going to look at me crazy. And hey, right? And someone else on the broadcast had made a similar comparison. And I just sat back in my chair like I knew I wasn't wilding. Like, this dude doesn't have the volume. Like, if you look at him and Jokic in their percentages, just their advanced analytics, Jokic has a 46% assist percentage. So he assists on almost 50% of his team's passes because he is Denver's hub. He is Denver's hub, while Cat is around a 16%. And even though he's averaging, I want to say this season, 0.3 less assists than he usually has. And I'm looking at his career average is 3 assists per game. And this is where we get into the conversation of how the offense should run. Because I think a guy with his passing skill should have more touches as the offensive hub. I'm not saying you take the ball out of Jalen's hands, but I think he can get easier buckets for Jalen's and OG's and Mikal just by being that point center, just playing that role. I think he has the passing skill set. I think his passing is super, super, super underrated. That was the one part of his game I never really heard about. But I've also heard from people who've watched him for a while that he is playing at a career level. Like he's playing at career high level. His aggression, the way he's seeing the court, these are things that he has over-indexed on as opposed to what they're used to normally. But even so, I'm thinking that move to the 5 permanently is what opened everything up, because now if you got to have your biggest guy guard him because you're scared of where they're going to be everywhere else, you really don't have a chance. And the reason why him and Brunson, and I've seen the comparisons to Shaq and Kobe. I think Gilbert Arenas made a comparison and said Cat should be the number 1 option, and they should do it kind of like Kobe and Shaq, where Shaq set it off and then Kobe closed because of they wanted to avoid Hack-a-Shaq and all of that, right? I think you can have a similar dynamic because when they run the pick and roll, it's literally like, yo, do you want the firing squad or the guillotine? Which one are you choosing right now? Which one are you choosing? And if they're both cooking, now you're at DEFCON 2. Now you're at DEFCON 2. You have Mikal, who's hitting those mid-range shots that you're going to need in the playoffs. I will not let the advocates take away the mid-range game. I won't let it happen. That game is important. And if he's efficient at that level, that's something that they're going to definitely need playoff time. And Josh Hart becoming God level Michael Jordan with less than 5 seconds of the 24-second shot clock as someone who can also initiate offense. I just think they have so many different options. They have maximum optionality on offense that it was going to take a while for everybody to feel comfortable enough to step up. Like, bro, OG Anunoby is scoring 20-point clip games, being aggressive in an offense with all these other offensive weapons around him. I just think that the possibilities are endless. And if you don't have 1 to 5 airtight two-way player personnel on the court, they're going to find the mismatch. And that's something that was concerning early on, was that they were hunting too much. It's like, all right, we got a duck. We got the duck. We don't need to go get any more ducks. Though we got a line of ducks right here. Just get these ducks right here. If you're trying to get the deer, if you're trying to get the bison, eventually they're gonna hit back. So we need to be more strategic.
Yeah, definitely. I just wanted a quick pushback about taking the ball out of Jalen Brunson's hands. I think we should take the ball out of Jalen Brunson's hands and run it through Karl-Anthony Towns a little bit more, just because to me, Karl-Anthony Towns, it's a lot easier for him to get baskets, but not just that. Jalen Brunson, a lot of people forget, is one of the best off-ball scorers in the NBA. So if you can take the ball out of his hands and use him more as a catch-and-shoot player, you're only opening up the game for him even more in the third and fourth quarter. So I do think that the Knicks should do a little bit more, getting Karl-Anthony Towns the ball from the free throw line extended, and just because once he has the ball there, the defense has to panic because he can shoot the mid-range, he can pass the ball, he can step back and hit threes on you, and he can drive on you. And he's such a fast decision maker. And this is the one big thing that I knew that fans were going to notice right away between Karl-Anthony Towns and Julius Randle. And I don't want to disparage Julius Randle here, but the one thing that to me, outside of the shooting talent, is Karl-Anthony Towns is such a fast decision maker. He makes a decision in a split second, whereas Julius needed to feel it out, take 1-2 dribbles and then make the pass. No, Karl-Anthony Towns feels you coming 3 seconds ago, and as soon as you move, the ball's in Mikal Bridges' hands for a dunk, easy, under the basket. And that is why, personally, I do think the Knicks should run the offense through Karl-Anthony Towns, because he's tall, he's an elite passer, and he just has such a quick feel for the game. It comes so easy for him. When Karl-Anthony Towns is scoring 36 and 40 and 45, he's not breaking the sweat doing that. He's just easily giving you 40. And I think that is the beauty of having a talent like that. You allow everything else around him to shine. He lifts everything up. And then absolutely, when it's fourth quarter is crunch time, I know who I want the ball. I know whose hands I want the ball in, and it's number 11 is Jalen Brunson. But you're keeping him fresh by allowing him to do less in the first three and running it through Karl. So I do think that it will be wise for the Knicks to give more responsibility offensively to Karl and to free up Jalen Brunson a little bit more to do some other things.
Yeah, I agree with 100% what you said. Here's some concerns that I have with Cat. You got to give me 1.5 less stupid fouls a game. I won't say stupid because that word has too much negative connotation. Unnecessary or careless fouls. And I see it, and I've watched him. I've watched a majority of his possessions. It's the little things that he does that every little thing you do, you roll my mind. I don't have songs on my head. It's the things that he does, the little things that he does where it feels like at times this mandate to be more physical doesn't apply to the Knicks when they're on defense, but it definitely applies to them when they're on offense. Because he'll do little bullshit like push his hand out at you when you're driving by. They're like, oh, that's a foul, right? He has to be able to adjust with the game. That's the first part, is playing more defense with his feet and not his hands, like Clyde would say. And that's super vital for him because it seems the refs know the type of hand checking and stuff that he does. And it feels involuntary at this point. I've seen people do it at the park. Like if you're shooting a shot, they may give you a little push. That really has nothing to do with affecting your shot, but they're calling that foul. So you have to ease up. You have to ease up. On the positive side, I do see he is a better than average perimeter defender for his size, given everything. Like I've seen him move his feet. It's more so the decision making and schematically. So okay, you hard hedged, y'all double teaming. They make the pass out. You got to know exactly who you're going to, or exactly who you're going to in the rotation and stick there. Now, everybody can't be S-tier OG and be able to get to his man and anticipate where the ball, he sees the rotation and then he can run. He can put himself half equidistant, like an equilateral triangle, equidistant between all three corners.
Put that arm out.
Right. Like these are certain things that you got to expect. And we're watching OG night in and night out. So you're like, damn, why can't you get to those guys? It's like Karl give you a hard run to one of those guys off the rotation. You ask it a lot for him to run suicides and run back and go there. I just need him to be a little bit more active on that. So clean up the rotations and stop the careless fouls, I think, are the two things. And I agree with you, especially early on in the game. These teams can't stop this man. I saw what he did to Bam. That's when I believed. You're doing that to Bam? You dropped, I forgot how much let me see if I can pull this up real quick. What he did to Milwaukee. What he did to poor Brook Lopez. What he did to poor Brook Lopez don't bother nobody, bruh. It don't bother nobody. What did you do to this man? What did you do to this man, Karl? 32 points, 11 rebounds, 80, 50, 60, 50, 80 from the field, 11 of 19. Like, come on, man. Oh, my bad. I went to Indiana. It was 12 of 20. Ooh, I won one off. But, this is the type, right? Well, my bad. But this is the type of offense that he's doing, and it just looks so effortless. It looks so effortless. So I want the Knicks to be able to capitalize on the ceiling level offense that they could have if he's running the ball from the post. Honestly, they should probably emulate what Denver does with Jokic. They should emulate some schemes in there because he's their hub. Everybody knows he's their hub, and he's still able to be effective. If you make Karl the hub, even at the top of the key, his quick processing of what's going on in the offense and decision making will take the offense to a whole other level. Other thing I need Cat not to do is tell the world that bodegas and corner stores are not synonymous in New York. You don't got to do that. You don't got to do that. I know you're from New Jersey, and some of y'all New Jersey people be doing that shit. I don't know what happens in your territories, right? I don't know what happens in your territories, but I know, remember, all bodegas are corner stores, but not all corner stores are bodegas.
There you go.
Right. So that's all you need to know. So I was like, please do not spread misinformation to poor, impressionable Mikal Bridges.
Yeah, man. Like,
please don't spread that, because this is just going to increase people who will say, oh, you tried too hard, you hate. And yo, by all means, I know y'all had money. Like, I know you had enough money where you might not know the corner store life. You might only know the bodega. And I also know it might be Brandon. He might be like, y'all not going to call me corner store cat. Y'all gonna call me. If y'all call me something, y'all gonna call me what they can. But that's all I'm saying. Don't be too Jersey to where you claiming stuff that happens in New York and it don't really happen. Those are the only 3 things I ask a cat. Everything else, I'm officially a member of the Cat World Order, Cat FC, Inter Towns, Real, Karl-Anthony. I'm here, bro.
Yeah. Honestly, the corner store stuff. Come on, bro. I'm from Brooklyn. You from Queens. Look, where I was from growing up, it was either the corner store or the border store. If you know, you know. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't none of this bodega deli stuff. And I've come to understand that the delis are owned by like the Yemenis. Like, that's how we call it. You know, and the bodegas, that's more like uptown. That's like, you know, like the Dominicans, and they really own that. So either way, if that store is on the corner, it's the corner store. If that store is in the middle of the block, it's the corner store. That's how we call it. That's how we call it. So,
because guess what? You can't get to it until you get to the corner. At some point, you got to get to the corner. So it's a corner store. Get
to the corner, you know. And if you order anything without saying "let me get up" before it, that sandwich is not coming out fire, and you need to know that. So that's all I gotta say about that. And 100% with you on Karl Towns defensively. He has a 7'5" wingspan. Just put your arms up, bro. Just put your arms up. Make it harder for guys to get around you. Put your arms in those passing lanes. Like, look, OG gonna give him some science. Mikal Bridges gonna give him some science. He's gonna get better over the season. But like right now, we do need to see a little bit more improvement, because at the end of the day, you know, the better he plays on defense, the less I have to hear about him playing power forward, because I really don't want to see that. I want to see him.
There's no way.
5.
There's no way, bro. There's no way. I think that I apologize if I cut you off, brother. My bad.
No, I was done.
I trust in Tom Thibodeau's defensive schematic plans to figure it out, even if he has to pull a rabbit out of his house and cast some form of dark arts. He'll figure out a way to maximize Cat at the 5, because the minute you put him at the 4, you diminish his offensive skill, his offensive ability, because then they'll be able to put smaller guys on him, or they'll be able to scheme around him. They'll hide their big on another player, which with the way Josh Hart is shooting right now, there ain't nowhere to hide. That's one of the things I love about this offense. There's nowhere really to hide. If you guard Josh, you're going to be running, you doing cardio. It's P90X. It's insanity, literal insanity guarding Josh Hart, because he's going to be moving around. You guard Mikal, you're going to have to protect your neck from all the cuts that he do. Now with OG, you got to hope he don't call for the ball, because if you're smaller than him, he's pulling you in the post. If you're his size, he's trying to take you off the dribble and shoot. The fact that he is now a viable offensive option, and you know, y'all can call us homers, whatever the case may be. If the Knicks remain a top 3 seed when it comes to All-Star time, and we extrapolate that their play either improves or maintains this current level, the Knicks have arguments right now for at least 2 and 2 possibles. I think Brunson is grandfathered in. I don't think there's a way Brunson is missing it. Like, barring existential extenuating circumstances, I don't think he's missing it. Cat is the best center in the East. He's the best center in the East. This season, Easily. He's the best center in the East. Easily the best center in the East. There's no low key. Cat should be starting. And we're gonna get to the new All-Star format. Whatever the new All-Star format that they're switching to. But in the traditional format, he would be an All-Star starter, right? Like, he would be he'd be starting on one of those teams, or whatever the case may be. Josh Hart, I've seen people pass around that he has similar numbers to All-Star year Draymond Green. I think it was 16, 17, and comparable, and in some places better. And what OG Anunoby, what he's doing on the defensive end and how he's picking it up on offense, it's hard to say both sides of the ball matter and you don't include him. And the East is a dystopian future. It's days of futures past in the East right now, where there's only what, 4 teams that are above 500? Above 500, bro.
4 teams, yeah.
4 teams above 500. I got an insane and disgusting amount of tabs open right now. I could not find the standings, but yeah, it's like it's freaking 4 teams. Meanwhile, 1 through 12 in the Western Conference. Yup. Knicks, Celtics, Cavs, Magic. Everyone else is under 500. Everyone else. Meanwhile, in the West, 8-8 will give you 12th place in the West. Your San Antonio Spurs at 500. It's ridiculous. So when you're looking at it like that, you scour the rest of the league and you scour the rest of the conference, and people are getting. You may have 1 through 4 teams that are carrying the all-star selection. So that's something to look forward to. One thing, and shout out to my guy James L. Edwards, who's the new beat writer for The Athletic covering the Knicks. One of the key concerns, they wrote an article about one major concern, one area of concern for each team. And for the Knicks, he put lack of free throws. He says the Knicks rank 29th in the NBA in free throw attempts at 19 attempts per game, even though they're shooting twos efficiently, right? And they're emphasizing shooting threes and getting to the rim and free throw attempts. Mikal Bridges has only taken 11 free throws this entire season, and he's the mid-range messiah, and he's only taken 11 free throws. I think that's an issue. I also think at some point the whistle is going to calibrate to the squad, because once again, if you're a Knicks fan or you cover this team and you watch this team, and I'd love to hear beat writers' perspective on this, there's a lot of whistle swallowing going on, because the fouls that I see other teams receiving and the Knicks don't, it's like, okay, once again, if you're letting them play, let both sides play. Like I've seen players hand checking Jalen Brunson at the top of the key, 30 feet away, full arm extended, not even the OG bend your arm so that you could do it. Full arm, pushing with 2 hands, trying to keep him in front of him. No call, no call, no call. But then on the other side, the Knicks do something similar or something similarly ticky-tacky, no call. So I do think there has to be a level of aggression, at least in the rim, like you overload the rim and see what happens. And also, I do think the whistle has to catch up, because it's not as if they're shying away from contact. And also, not to mention, they're one of the best offensives in the league, so there's not really a lot of opportunity for them to grab rebounds and do this type of thing, or they're shooting a lot of jump shots. But even when they're going to the rack, especially Brunson, I don't want to hear the dark art allegations about Brunson, because he's not. He should be taking a lot more free throws than he does.
Oh, absolutely. The Knicks are getting a poor whistle, but I can honestly have said that for every Knicks team of my entire life. So I don't know if that's just me being a fan, but it is disappointing that the Knicks are not getting the whistle that they deserve. Jalen Brunson literally gets leveled in the Phoenix game. Guys knock him down, like you see them push him to the ground, and no call, because he has this reputation as a flopper or whatever. I mean, it's complete nonsense, and I do think that that they will eventually regress to the mean. The Knicks will continue to send the tapes into the league office and say, "What are your referees calling? Why are they officiating us this way?" And over time, I expect that to level off. So I try not to worry too much about it, because at the end of the day, my team better than your team, and we're going to give you 150 points. Good luck keeping up.
Here's some stats from my guy, Tommy Beer. First time the Knicks have scored 130 plus points in consecutive contests is 1988. These are the last 2 games. First time they've scored 130 plus in back-to-back wins since 1968. First time in franchise history that the Knicks have scored more than 130 points while shooting above 55% from the floor in 2 straight games. And then they're the only team in NBA history to score more than 130 points and shoot above 55 from the floor, above 45 from 3, and above 90% from the free throw line in consecutive contests. I think that's pretty good. I don't know about y'all, but I think that is amazing. And that's just a glimpse. And they haven't even reached their final form yet. So I do think that the possibilities are endless for this offense to go completely nuclear and really blow out teams. And I think once they're able to find their stride, they're gonna be good. They're gonna be straight. All right, Mensa. Let's talk about the week ahead. Let's get into our quick predictions bag. They're at Utah, at Denver, at Dallas, and come home on Black Friday to face the Hornets in NBA Cup competition. Or they're at Charlotte. Excuse me. They're still gonna be on the road. So I remember Josh Hart was talking about they're gonna have to do Thanksgiving when Rick Brunson, they spoke to Rick Brunson about the whole Dante thing, and he was like, yo, he's coming over for Thanksgiving. He's like, well, I guess he's coming to Charlotte because we're gonna be on the road for Thanksgiving. Charlotte, Dallas, Denver, Utah. What do you think the record's gonna be?
4-0. I don't think Luka Doncic is playing next week. I think we're going 4-0. Yeah. Denver is good, but it's really mostly Jokic's greatness, and I think that Karl-Anthony Towns guards Jokic well. We saw that in the playoffs last year. Mm-hmm. Utah and Denver, that is honestly, it's famously the hardest back-to-back in American sports just because the altitude in both places are really high. But I do think that the Knicks just have way more talent than the Utah Jazz, so I'm not too worried about that. And then against Dallas, I think it'll be a close one, but we've been playing Denver pretty tough in recent years, so I think we can beat Denver. We'll get the win there. No Luka. I think it was announced that Luka's going to be out for at least a week.
He has a wrist injury. Yep.
Yeah. So listen, Kyrie Irving is awesome. Not enough. You don't have enough to beat us. And then at Charlotte, which should be a really, really fun game because the way Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball are playing this season, they've been lights out. They've been really good. Still think they're a little too young. They're not ready. And I expect Cat to put 50 on them. I don't know if people remember, but the last time Karl-Anthony Towns last season, I should say, played the Charlotte Hornets and gave them like 70 points. So yeah. So I like the Knicks against the Charlotte Hornets there. So I'm going 4-0.
I'm going to say 3-1 only because there's one of those games is going to be annoying. I don't know which one it is. So I'm leaving. I think they should go 4-0. I'm leaving room to be annoyed for one. I do like the fact that they play Utah and Denver back to back because they'll play Utah first, get acclimated to that altitude, and then go into Denver. So it won't be as much of a shock to the system. So for those next couple of days, they'll be in the altitude cities and in that climate. So that is the one positive from there. And Utah gave up a 40-point fourth quarter to a Wemby-less San Antonio Spurs. The Utah Demons have to be exercised, at least on this trip, I think. So I'll say 3-1 just to be conservative about it. But I don't think Denver and Dallas are the two games that I'm looking at as a potential someone to go off. And Jokic might be back for the Denver one. I know he's been out for personal reasons. So that's what I'm looking at. But either way, I think it's going to be a fun time. I think it's going to be good. And I think this team is gelling. And once they get it together, man, it's definitely going to be spooky for the league. Let me get this super chat in for my guy, Andrew Claudio. Happy Friday. This is your reminder / cue to laugh at the Sixers and the entire city of brotherly losers as I get the notification that Joel Embiid is out tonight versus the Nets.
It's going great. It's going so great in Philadelphia.
Oh, my God. Things are looking pretty bleak at Wells Fargo Garden, man. It's kind of crazy right now. And the Nets are plus 124 on certain sports books right now in that game. And it's in Philly. I'm not saying, I'm just saying, if you partake in sports betting,
might be a good one.
might be time to let it fly on the Nets because they're feisty and I don't know if the Sixers got fight like that. At least that's what they're showing. They play, but no PG, no Embiid. Maxey and friends don't be getting it done. Actually, I'm actually shocked that line didn't move because Maxey and friends is not it. it's Nets bias right now, and you never thought you would hear me saying that on especially on the Knicks Film School podcast. But yeah, the books think they stink, or at least they're trying to entice you to make that money line bet. I don't know, man. That could be a toss up, low key. So as you can see, Andrew is reveling in the Sixers' frustration. It's really nuts. They got the worst record in the league. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
I put out a poll before the season started, asking people how many games do they think that the Embiid, Maxey, and Paul George trio would play together. And most people said between 30 and 40. I don't know if they get that far, guys. It's been, 14, 15 games? They're 2-12. They've only done it once, and the one game somebody got hurt. It's like, I don't know, man, but who could have seen giving Joel Embiid another $200 million and giving $208 million to a 34-year-old Paul George? Who could have seen that going wrong? Who could have seen it? Take it from a guy whose team just paid a 41-year-old quarterback and how bad that's gone. Listen, these old guys, man, you don't want to give them $200 million. It's not a good idea.
All right, let's get Sergio Acosta's super chat. And Sergio, thank you so much. Thoughts on a possible option for a wing player off the bench, whether by trade or within the organization? Keep up the good work. Let's go Knicks. Thank you so much. So Mensa, funny that Sergio should ask about potential wing help, because I read a report that said that contenders are keeping their eyes on a certain big ragu in Minnesota for potential trade possibilities at the deadline.
Listen,
Minnesota's 8-7 right now. Devo hasn't really gotten off to a hot start in Minnesota. If you told me one of the players was going to be on the trading block, I thought it would be Randall on what's pretty much an expiring right now, and not Devo. And of course, the reporting is saying that Minnesota isn't looking to trade him, but the contenders, Golden State Warriors, who just lost Anthony Melton to the season for an ACL injury, guys like that, teams like that are keeping their eyes open, because depending on what shakes out in Minnesota, they might be looking to sell a part or two, which is wild to think. When we heard all the takes about the trade and everything that was going on and who won, who lost, and it was widely accepted that, similar to the OG trade where folks said they think that the Raptors wanted quickly more than RJ, you heard the same thing with Devo and Randall, that it was like, yo, they really wanted to pair up Devo, and they had faith that Randall could recapture some of his glory and be able to contribute. But man, NBA news turns on a dime, boy. So that's going to be one to monitor for sure. What do you think about that?
It would be poetic justice for Dante DiVincenzo's music to play one more time on his way back to the Garden Ring, man. It would be amazing. Personally, I'm not sure it's possible, just because they didn't want Mitchell Robinson. That's really the only matching salary that we have for Dante DiVincenzo. A guy that I have my eyes on as far as like possible wing options is Herb Jones in New Orleans. They tried to play him at center. If you look at New Orleans' record, you'll see how that went. He's hurt. He's out for this. He's not out for the season, but he's been out for a couple of weeks. Just like Mitchell Robinson, who's currently hurt, out for a couple of weeks, is from Louisiana and fits a gigantic need for the Pelicans, who are looking at a Rob Williams, who is probably the player more injured than Mitchell Robinson in the
Time
NBA.
Lord?
Time Lord, yeah. Rob Williams, right? That's his name?
Yeah.
Okay, make sure I got that right. Yeah, so they're looking at the Pelicans are looking for a guy to play the center in Robert Williams, but if we can give them Mitchell Robinson, they can give us Herb Jones. I think that's a guy that I've had my eye on for the longest. Teams, another report that came out on Clutch Points is that teams are speculating whether or not one Marcus Smart would be available in a trade. And listen, it would make me so happy to see beloved Celtic Marcus Smart beat the Celtics as a New York Knick if it ever came to that in a playoff series. So those are my two guys, really, is Marcus Smart and Marcus Smart. Well, the Marcus Smart thing is a little more complicated because he has more salaries, around $20 million a year. So it would have to be at least Mitch and Precious going out. And depending on how much faith you have in Sims and Huck Purdy, you may not be as comfortable making that trade. But a guy like Herb Jones, who's under contract for another 3-4 years, would make a lot of sense in a trade for the Knicks. It's just, can Mitchell Robinson get healthy enough, fast enough to entice a team like the New Orleans Pelicans to make a trade like that?
It's interesting. That's interesting. And I'm also thinking about their front court depth too, where you'd have Sims, you'd have Precious. If you're trading Mitch, then you're trading him for another wing. So you're trying to bolster that. You have Huck Purdy there. You have, Dottie. Like what is it that you're going to do? How are you going to really move the chess pieces around in order for them to fit and to be effective strategically? That's really interesting. Also, Herb Jones signed that contract. I don't know if it matches with Mitch's contract, but that's also something to keep in mind.
His contract is around like $11-12 million, so it would actually be less than what Mitch is making, who's around 14. And because
did he sign an extension?
The extension was signed, I want to say last summer, but he's tradable.
Oh, I'm thinking of Trey Murphy.
We can't get Trey Murphy. Trey Murphy, that ship has sailed. He signed an extension this year. He's the poison pill. Everything is just too much to deal with. But as far as like, can we get a Herb Jones who signed, I want to say last year for like $4 million, something like 40-50 million. So his contract is around that $11 to $14 million sweet spot where the Knicks would be taking less in the trade. So you can do a 1-to-1 because New Orleans is under, I believe, the first apron because they do not pay the tax in New Orleans. So yeah, I think it would be, that's one that I've had my eye on for a couple months. Hopefully we can see it come to fruition because this team absolutely needs another wing, and Herb Jones, being as good as he is defensively, would fit right in with Tom Thibodeau.
Not as long as the Knicks don't trade for Elf, please. Yo, my man came off the street to start for the Pelicans. Yo, the Pelicans were suffering, bro. My man came off the street, was like, yo, y'all need me, and was running right into the starting lineup. Different type of injury concerns with them. Before I let you get out of here, have you heard about the new All-Star format that's been proposed?
That was a mistake. Yeah, I have heard about it. I haven't heard too much. Something like, like 3 or 4.
Yes. So 3 teams of 8.
So
3 teams of 8.
Okay, so 20. So there's still the same 24 people making an All-Star game. I personally was anti-NBA Cup. I thought it was stupid. And then I saw it and I was like, this is actually the best shit ever. So I'm not in the position to doubt Adam Silver at the moment. If it works, it works. Maybe it'll be, I mean, we kind of see it with the rookie sophomore game now, where like it's the teams playing, and it's kind of interesting, but I want to see if it makes the game more competitive, I'm all for it. I don't know if it will, but at this point, I think Adam Silver, I commend him for, tinkering with things and trying to be a little more brave and try to make the game more appealing as far as like its marketability. He's taking the game really far since he's been commissioner. So if this is something that he wants to try, if it doesn't work, hey, personally, bring back that Elam ending. That's all I want. Bring that Elam ending back.
I like the Elam ending.
Hey, we'll see what he does.
I'm not against the new format. I'm against the solution they had to a problem that's easily solvable if the players just play hard. Like to have to reconfigure the entire format to motivate players just to play hard in the All-Star game, it just seems a little bit ludicrous to me. I understand there's more money involved and there's more branding and players don't want to get injured and there's those type of concerns, but you have those concerns when you're hooping in the off season. You have those concerns when you play in the regular games. Like I totally get it, but there's been a history of players who get together for one night, play this game just for pride. Even if they keep it competitive, they keep it at least close until the fourth and they play hard for 12 minutes. And that's how it was for a few years before it just got ridiculous. So how can you convince me that this new format will bring about more competitive fire when it seems like the problem is with the players? Now, if they're saying, hey, we would play hard if it was like first team to 40. And then of course everybody's getting cash, which once again, I'm not going to knock these players for getting as much money as they can because they do a lot during those weekends. It's not just show up, play the games, and dip. There's a lot of league responsibilities, then their individual businesses, their teams, meeting with VIPs, they're throwing events for their different brands that they sponsor or endorse. So there's a lot of business going on that All-Star weekend. It isn't really a break. That's why some of the players who don't make it don't show up. They go on vacation because they actually get a vacation, right? But it just is annoying. It's disappointing that the players just collectively didn't compete and then afterwards said that they were frustrated with the level of competition. Do y'all need a players only meeting? Do y'all need to just get together and talk to each other and be like, yo, if y'all collectively say, hey, we're not going hard like that, I got to respect it from a collective standpoint. I don't got to like it though. But it's just, yo, we're tinkering the format because y'all don't want to play for real in this game. So now we're trying to adjust the format so that y'all will actually play for real as established stars because the young guys are going to go crazy. The young guys are going to go crazy regardless. But that's what disappoints me. I hope it works because I would like the games to mean something. But then I'm asking, okay, what does it mean to be an all-star starter? If you're playing 5 teams of 8, do those 15 guys get to claim that they're all-star starters? You know what I mean? As opposed to 10? So is it going to be 15 starters, 15 official all-star starters, and then the rest are reserves? How are they going to get picked? Like, I have a lot of questions, but if it injects the competitiveness back and the interest, then yeah, so be it. But damn, y'all could have just played for real, bro. Y'all could have just played for real and we would have been straight.
Yeah, definitely. It is disappointing when you look at it that way. I mean, I'm old enough to remember, and I'm sure you are old enough to remember, like, in terms of just like culture, you know, like Jay-Z and DMX going at it backstage at a concert, rap battling. You know, you don't see that kind of energy anywhere anymore at all. You know, like you just don't. There just seems to be a lack of competitive fire in these guys. I don't know who's to blame. I remember when the Miami Heat, Doc Rivers was the coach for the Miami Heat. No, for the never for the Miami Heat, for the Boston Celtics, and 3 Heat, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, and LeBron James. They were all-stars and they were running Heat plays. You know, like I remember like all those little fun things, you know, we don't get that anymore. You know, last year and I felt this was a really big slight to Cade when they did the number 1 overall picks thing, and it was 23 Victor Wembanyama, 22 Paolo Banchero, and 20 Anthony Edwards instead of 21 Cade Cunningham. And Anthony Edwards completely showed his ass, like showed you he did not care to be here. And that kind of stuff is super disappointing to see because you're 23, 24, man. Go out there and make a name for yourself. Build your brand, you know? And these guys aren't necessarily doing that, as my son in the back is starting to make a little noise. Little man just came home. So yeah, just yeah, I would love to see a more competitive format. If that'll make it more competitive, great. But you're right. You're 100% correct. The problem isn't with the format, it's with the players. Because if it was Chris Brickley or one of those guys, you know, Black Ops, they would be going at it. But I guess once the camera's on, nobody wants to get embarrassed and that sort of stuff. And it's kind of leaked into, you know, just the game. And I hate that.
Yeah, it's pretty whack. It's pretty whack when I think about it. And I just hope that the players, if they care like that, I hope they show it because it would be good. It would be good to put on. It'd be a good exhibition because we want to see that. I also think the transient nature of the league, where a lot of these guys are playing with each other and end up on the same teams, and they kind of had that experience. So back in the day, a lot of these stars you would not see on the same team unless it was the All-Star game. So I could see that familiarity being a negative for them. But yeah, man, just play for real. If it's first to 40. There's no reason why you shouldn't be balling out, man. There's no real reason why you shouldn't be balling out. Like let's put on a show, or either that or just wrap up the game and just make it a bunch of skills competitions and then call it a day. I'm telling you, man, it's gotten so wild. I've been to All-Stars where people have left Sunday morning because they're like, why am I going to stay for the game? What's the point? What's the point? Craziness,
That's
bro.
sad. That's so sad.
Very
What's
much
the
so.
point?
What's the point? I tell you what the point is, a Casual Fridays, having guys like Mensa stop by to give you his Knicks knowledge and inform, educate, and entertain the people with his wit and with his cat advocacy, because it ain't going to stop. And he's going to continue to let you know that he was on the right side of history. That the more cat balls out, the more you will be seeing more like Mensa on your timeline, telling you the real. Mensa, please tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky at More Like Mensa. You can follow me. I'm always just talking, a lot of nonsense on the timeline, just trying to keep things light. Also, just, trying to give you a little bit of insight, man. And Jeff, I just want to say really quickly before we get out of here, man, I'm really happy to see what you've done with Casual Friday. A little bit of backstory. I actually gave this podcast the name because somebody called me a casual on Twitter, and I was like, we're just going to call it Casual Fridays. So I love what you've done with the platform, man. And I really feel like this is the one the street's been waiting on. So I'm really happy that I came on. We were able to chop it up for a little bit, man. It's been great to see what you're doing, and I love to see where you're going to take this platform. So just continue to keep doing the great work.
I appreciate you, and I appreciate the history. I love the origin story of that name, because if Eddie Mensa is a casual, then I don't know. I'm a pair of khakis. I don't know what to call myself at this point. But my guy Mensa, dropping the knowledge. Thank you so much. Jeff J says on all social media, including Blue Sky, we got a fantastic Knicks fan base building on that platform. You get it. You'll get a lot of great insight from folks. A lot of the beat writers are over there, a lot of the Knicks content creators. So Knicks Nation, it's by far the most engaging so far on Blue Sky from what I've seen from NBA and whatnot. Got their own feed on there. Like it's really lit. If you are on Blue Sky, find your way over to the Orange and Blue Sky and link up with Knicks Sky and the Knicks Nation over there. So you can find me there, and you also find me here, Casual Fridays, Knicks Film School Fridays, live, coming direct to you. Share this video with your friends, your family, and anybody who loves Knicks talk or NBA talk too. Like this video, tell a friend to tell a friend, send us your comments. We'll definitely get in there and get crazy with y'all and reply. Thank you to the chat for being live. Thank you to all the super chats, everybody who has contributed to the day. Mensa and Jeff, we're out of here. Next week, was it Black Friday? I will say that I'm on the report as questionable, because after Thanksgiving, I don't know what's going to happen. I will put myself as questionable for now. So check the news for more. Check your favorite beat writer. You'll know if I'm here on Friday. But if I am, you're going to get that same cool brand of Knicks talk as we prepare for the NBA Cup. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Casual Friday. This is Knicks Film School, and we out of here. We'll talk to you soon.